Ever since madness, like poison ivy, had entangled the once sturdy walls of my mind, I had been a prisoner of the fading wasteland, a family estate whose dark history seemed destined for my own sad fate. Time, that inexorable executioner, had left its scars on every surface. The mouldy walls and seed moisture like tears of grief. The parquet floors, once polished to a shine, now creaked with every step like the bones of ancient skeletons. And the dim light that filtered through the narrow Gothic windows barely dispelled the eternal twilight that reigned in those cursed walls. I, Erasmus, the last scion of an ancient family, was doomed to live in this crypt, where the past rose from the dead, tormenting my soul with ghostly memories. My fortune, like the estate itself, was slowly fading, leaving me defenseless against the darkness that crept up on me from all sides. Most of all, I was tormented by the memory of Lenora, my beloved, whose tragic death had plunged me into despair. Her image haunted me everywhere. I saw her pale face in every reflection, heard her quiet laughter in the whisper of the wind, felt her icy touch in every shadow. Her portrait, hanging in the library, seemed to follow me with its dead pale eyes, and the mold slowly covering the canvas was only a symbol of the fading of my memory of her. Fading, I was desperate to stop. But it wasn't just the memory of Lenora that haunted me. There was a curse that hung over our family, a curse that seemed to run through the blood, infecting the mind and robbing it of its sanity. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, they all eventually fell victim to this hereditary disease, plunging into an abyss of madness from which there was no return. And now I felt that the same fate awaited me. Every day my connection to reality became more and more fragile. The hallucinations became more frequent and more vivid. I saw faces in the walls, heard voices whispering my name in the dark, felt the touch of invisible hands. I could no longer trust my senses, could no longer distinguish truth from fiction, reality from nightmare. The motif of the doppelganger, which seemed to follow me everywhere, was particularly tormenting. I often saw my reflection in mirrors, but it was distorted, sinister, as if it did not belong to me, but to some dark alter ego seeking to break free. Sometimes I caught myself saying or doing things that didn't seem to come from me, but from someone else living inside me. One night, wandering through the endless corridors of the fading wasteland, I saw a figure at the far end of the hall that looked remarkably like me. The figure stood still, in the shadows, but I could see its outline clearly, tall, thin, wearing the same clothes I was, a black velvet robe. I tried to move closer, but the figure disappeared, as if vanished into thin air. From then on, I became obsessed with the idea of a doppelganger. I looked for him everywhere, scouring the dark corners of the manor, searching every nook and cranny. I knew he was here somewhere, watching me, waiting to take my place. Like an icy hand clutched my heart. I was afraid not only of death, but also of madness, losing my mind, becoming a mindless creature without memory or consciousness. I was afraid of becoming like my father, who had spent the last years of his life in total unconsciousness, mumbling incoherent words and staring at nothing with mad eyes. To distract myself from my gloomy thoughts, I tried to do things. I read old books from the family library, read poems, played the harpsichord, but nothing could banish the darkness that had settled in my soul. The music that had once brought me comfort now sounded dissonant. The poems became incoherent collections of words, and the books only reminded me of the frailty of human existence.
One room in the manor was particularly depressing to me, an old crypt located in the basement. It had been sealed for years, but I felt irresistibly drawn to it. I could hear voices coming from underground, feel the chill through the thick walls. It seemed to me that the crypt held not only Lenora's body, but something else, something sinister and terrible, waiting to break free. I went down to the cellar one night and broke the lock of the crypt. It was dark and damp inside, and the air smelled of decay and rot. I lit a torch and looked around. In the center of the crypt was a stone sarcophagus engraved with the inscription, "Here lies Lenora, Erasmus's beloved." I approached the sarcophagus and opened it. Inside lay her, Lenora, my beloved. But it was not the Lenora I remembered. Her face was contorted with a grimace of horror, her eyes wide open, as if she had seen something unspeakably terrible before she died. Her skin was gray and covered with cadaverous spots, but the worst part was that she was alive. She opened her eyes and looked at me. There was so much pain and despair in her gaze that I almost fainted. She tried to say something, but only a hoarse moan escaped her throat. I understood. Lenora had been buried alive. I couldn't bear it. My mind went blank. I grabbed my head and screamed. I don't remember what happened next. I only remember flashes of light, fragments of phrases, faces contorted with horror. I remember being led away from the crypt, being locked in a room, my head banging against the wall, trying to break free. Since then, I've lived in this room, completely isolated from the world. I no longer know where I am, who I am, what is real and what is just a figment of my crazy imagination. I see Lenora everywhere. She comes to me in my dreams. She whispers in my ear. She stalks me in the corridors of the fading wasteland. She blames me for her death. She demands retribution. I know I'm going to die soon. But I'm not afraid of death. I am afraid of insanity, the state I am in right now. I fear that my mind will forever be locked in this cursed prison, where I will suffer forever from the memory of Lenora, from the curse of my family, from my own madness. Sometimes I see in the mirror not my reflection, but the face of a doppelganger, a dark, sinister creature that seeks to break free and consume my soul. I know he will win soon. I can feel it creeping up on me, taking over my mind, turning me into its likeness. I write these lines in the hope that someone will someday read them and learn of my tragic fate. I want the world to know that Erasmus, the last scion of an ancient family, was not just a madman, but a victim of a curse, a victim of circumstances, a victim of his own weakness. But maybe it's all just a figment of my imagination. Maybe the withering heath never existed. Perhaps Lenora never lived. Perhaps I was never an aristocrat, but only a madman imprisoned within the walls of my own mind. But even so, my pain is real. My fear is real. My madness is real. And it's enough to drive anyone insane.
In the last few days, I've been seeing more and more often a raven crashing through the window of my room. It calls, as if to herald my imminent death. I know he has come for my soul. I don't fight back. I'm tired of fighting. I want it all to end. I close my eyes and wait. I wait for death. I wait for madness. I wait for oblivion.